How to plan for short-term financial goals. That's today's show. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, I'm Clayton Morris. She is
Natalie Morris.
and welcome to the Investing in Real Estate show. This is the show where we talk about buy and hold real estate for the purposes of creating legacy wealth, long-term cash flow. What is it? The golden goose, the golden geese that lay
The
the golden eggs?
the producing geese. That's
Right.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the rich dad, poor dad philosophy, right? I'd rather have the geese that are making the eggs than the
Then a
eggs.
pile of eggs.
Right.
Right.
You
Because
tell
eggs you go through, right?
exactly. You tell that story about your parents, right? And
Yeah. My mom doesn't like it when I tell this story
oh,
because
okay.
but yes, the point was that when my parents got divorced, my dad was talking about their settlement and he said, well, she got all the eggs and I got all the geese. And he was sort of proud that that was that's what he got because he gave her a lot of cash and then he kept things that produced cash like their rental properties and their land and things and the business. And so yeah, although my mother has done a really good job of taking those eggs and buying geese on her own. So I think that's why that hurts her feelings is because
Right. She turned the tables a little bit, so now she's got a lot of geese that are
right,
producing cash
and
flow every
she's
month.
done it on her own and so both of them subscribe to the philosophy of using your eggs to buy more geese that produce eggs. So in case you're not really picking up on this metaphor, what we're saying is that we don't save piles of cash. We use our cash to buy things that produce cash regularly.
So this year, Natalie and I have set about on some pretty ambitious goals. We want to, we recently paid off a vacation home that we had up in the mountains, sort of our fortress of solitude. And this year, we decided we are going to go after guns blazing our primary mortgage and get it wrapped up and taken
And
care of.
by we, he means he has decided and
Right.
that right.
Well, we have some short-term goals this year, and we had a meeting. You and I had a meeting the other day where we sat down for about an hour looking at spreadsheets, diving deep into what our strategy is for acquiring this. Not only acquiring extra rental properties this year, we have a passive income goal for the year 2017 into 2018, but we also have some other goals too financially that we want to do. And I said, can we set our sights on not only achieving our goals with acquiring more real estate and passive income from our rental properties, but also paying down our primary mortgage, paying off our liabilities. The goal this year really is to reduce the amount of liabilities and increase the number of assets in our asset column and get rid of any liabilities, car payment, all of that kind of stuff. Because it's
Right.
alluring. You can get these car payments where maybe it has like a 1% interest rate, and you're like, oh, that's fine. It's still a liability.
Yeah.
It's still sitting in your liabilities column and it's taking away from your net worth and it's not actually producing for you. So what can you do to get rid of those things? Because at the end of the day, no one wants to be in debt.
Right. And so we've been trying to figure out how to, produce enough passive cash flow so that we can offset the expenses that there are certain expenses that we're going to continue to have, even if we paid off our cars, even if we paid off our home. For instance, our kids go to a private school. That's our choice. So we have to budget for that. You can't pay off private school for the entirety of I guess. Well, I guess you could get what are those notes you can prepay college. Do you know what those are called? I can't remember off the top of my head.
No, I've never heard of
Um,
that. You can
you
prepay college? Can we
you
do
you
that now?
can you can prepay for their college. I don't know enough about it to talk about it, but yes, there are sort of savings plans where you pay for college now, and then by the time they get there, there are certain limitations to that. But yeah, so anyway, we choose to have a tuition payment every month. What are some other expenses that we can't prepay, like our utilities, things like that. So, but what we're trying to do is make it so that those are offset by our geese, right? So that we have enough geese that give us, we can go out, collect their eggs every day and pay for the things that we need to pay for so
Right.
that we're not beholden to any paycheck or job or anything, right?
Right.
We answer to ourselves.
Right. So we sat down and our plan was this short term financial goals. I mean, we've already had, I think, long discussions here on the show about our long term financial goals, hitting whatever it is, $40,000 a month in passive income from our rental properties, those types of long term goals, holding our properties for the rest of our life. We're not planning on selling our rental properties. We're going to hand those down to our children. We've done the estate planning where we've talked about what happens after we pass away and what happens with the estate and handing those down to our children. But what about those short-term goals, those short-term things? How do you account for all of that? Because as you mentioned, a lot of times it just ends up like I'm going to pull out my yellow legal pad. It's just like sitting on like a yellow legal pad. It's like basically what like half the goals are half the time. And, they're just kind of like a chicken scratch. But if you don't put them into some sort of like software or spreadsheet or plan, then you're probably not going to achieve these goals, just like you would your longer term vision boards and plans. So, right.
So, we've talked about so many times this sort of bag of tricks that you can use to acquire some kind of cash flowing asset, whether that be you want to buy a business or you want to invest in a friend's business or you want to buy rental real estate, whatever it is that you're saving to buy, you have to sort of list it out and then list out what your bag of tricks are. And so that's sort of what I did recently because Clayton said, well, I have these. He identified 3 cash flowing properties that he wanted, 2 in Indianapolis and 1 in Michigan.
Michigan, right.
And he said, oh, they cost this much. I want to close on them in the next couple of weeks. And I said, okay, well, let's look at the cash that we have in these different bags of tricks. And there's no real software that does that because let's talk about some of the things that we've done. So we leverage a home equity line of credit. Let's see what else. We have a savings account as well. We have leveraged our 401k with a loan, so we had some available cash there. We've also done the fund and grow, the fund and grow. What would you call
credit
that
cards?
strategy?
Yeah, and again, you can if you want more information on that, just go to our website morrisinvest.com/funding. We've got info on that, and it's been great because we've had a bunch of our investors who've been able to buy properties through us using that. So yeah, we did that. So 401k,
Right.
we do that once a year, and that's not very much. Our HELOC was pretty much, it was a lot. Our cash
Right.
on hand, our savings, and some of the credit card money from Fund and Grow.
But then also we have several LLC bank accounts for the current properties that we own now. So we have 4 or 5 properties and 1 LLC, and that LLC has its own bank account, and that bank account is receiving rent checks every month rather. So those LLC bank accounts have a pile of cash as well.
Can we talk about that? Because I was really surprised. So I guess, you think about the cash flow. I've talked many, many times here on the show about, there's 3 stages of real estate investing: buy, own, and then cash flow. And so the cash flow phase is really the third. That's what you're focused on. Down the line, you want to acquire these rental properties. You want to acquire these assets, adding to your net worth column, right? And then, a few years from now, then you really want to pay attention to the cash flow. But initially, you want to make sure you're locking these properties down to your net worth column. So when you pulled up the spreadsheet showing all of our rental properties and the different LLCs and the bank accounts that the cash flow from the rent was coming into, and you're like, oh, we've got, 8,000 in this one, 10,000 in this one. We've got, this one was a new one, so we only had like 4,000 in that one. But when you added it up, I was like, holy smokes, like that's enough to buy another rental property right there, or that's enough to buy 2 rental properties right there with all the cash flow from the renters.
Exactly. So, so we have 4 or 5 different bank accounts that are they only exist to receive cash flow. So every month the property manager just does an ACH deposit into those accounts and they grow and grow and grow. And so, we take some, we set it aside for cash, for tax rather. We take some, we set it aside for other things for, owner pay and such. But now there's still some cash left in there. So we can scrape from those accounts because we know that we've budgeted to pay the taxes and we've budgeted to pay the property manager, and we've set aside some for any repairs that those properties need. And there's enough now for us to acquire something new. And so I knew that we had all of these resources, and maybe that's not super relatable because not everyone is doing all of these strategies at the same time, but you probably think like, okay, I'm going to do the 401k thing and then I've got a little bit in my savings account. But do you really know how much you're taking from your 401k plus how much you need to save? How else would you, pull from those reserves? Like, do you think that most investors think I've got about enough in these two or three different places? Do you think that's how most investors work?
I think so. Most of the time that, that people end up having this, idea that, okay, I'm going to pull this money together and I'm going to, actually take this cash and I'm going to start to put it into a pile and see, well, what can I do with this? Am I going to actually,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's like they're sort of scrambling and trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do with it, and they don't have an actual plan for it.
Right. So that's sort of why I came up with this spreadsheet that I'm referencing right now, and we can share it. It's a little crude, but it's just my way of figuring out where we're going to get each little piece of cash to put together these three new acquisitions. And then, there's a few other things like I know we're now paying our taxes quarterly, so we're going to have to plan for that. And plus, like I said, we've got tuition for our kids. So I just wanted a way to see what I need to plan for in the immediate future and where I can get it from. But, not all the cash is our cash right now. Not all of it comes without some kind of either fee or penalty. So I want to be able to weigh if I pull this cash from just cash, and obviously cash is king. We have this and these savings accounts. That's better than if I then pull from a Fund and Grow credit card, because if I use that cash, like say for a cash advance out of a credit card, or use it to say do a balance transfer, that's maybe 0% interest, but a 3 or 4 or 5% fee on that. So that's a fee I'm paying for money, right? So I want to pay as little for money as I can in order to meet these goals. So I just sort of laid it all out, like how much is in here and is there interest on this? And how much can I borrow from the home equity line of credit? Yes, I can, but I have a 1.9% interest on there, so I have to have a plan to pay it back. So this is just sort of my way of laying it all out.
Great. So now, what is the plan? So when we lay it out, we're gonna what is the sort of the monthly plan? I guess because we need to get a little bit more granular. Then, like, how are we going to break that down
Well,
individually?
we have a monthly plan, right? We save in the profit account for those types of things, right? I know how much we need to save per month for our children's school. I know how much we need to save per month in the profit account, and that profit account grows so that we can have new acquisitions. And in fact, these new acquisitions are largely going to come from the profit account. But Clayton always bites off more than he can chew. And so we need to find other cash, and thankfully we just have employed all of these strategies. So we have a little extra cash from the home equity line of credit to do this. And we have some extra cash from the 401k purchase in order to do that as well. So this is just my attempt to lay out all my cards, because we know that successful investors use leverage in sort of a buffet of ways. Like, this is my buffet of money. Get it?
I get it. So it's smart to be able to have this lined up in some sort of a spreadsheet. So let's open up the spreadsheet and take a look at the cash flow plan for 2017. And
Right.
explain what we're looking at here. So we're going to give this away. So when you come over to our website, we're going to give this spreadsheet away for free. Just come to our website. It's episode 60 or 160. So go to morrisinvest.com/podcast or episode 160, morrisinvest.com/episode 160. And right there in the episode, we'll have a download so you can download this PDF or this spreadsheet so you can use it.
Right. Okay. So what I did, and I guess people who really love spreadsheets won't be super impressed by this, but it's just, again, my attempt to lay it all out there, because otherwise I would just have to write it down on a piece of paper and figure out what money comes from where. So I listed what our upcoming purchases are. And at the bottom, you can see that this is a sheet that's titled May 2017, because it will change drastically next month when we already make those payments. Because if you pay your taxes quarterly, you know that Q2 is due June 15th. So I need to know what we need to pay for. So again, Clayton identified these properties. So there's 2 or 3 there. The tax payment, I have an idea that it will be similar to what we paid for Q1. And then our school tuition is also due early in the summer. So I needed to see all of those things to make sure that I have put the cash that we're saving in the right places. For instance, you might have your tax savings in a place where you don't even have checks, or you can't access it very easily, or I mean, it's usually pretty easy to get to your cash in a savings account, but again, you just want to make sure it is where you know where it's going to be. So I've listed up our upcoming purchases and the amount that each one will cost, and then I sorted them by date. So I know which one's upcoming soon. And then, I might replicate this spreadsheet next month and just delete the ones that I've already paid for. And then I've put the next column, how much we've saved towards that purchase. And then with a simple Excel formula, I've calculated how much we still have to save on each purchase. Okay. Make sense?
Right. Absolutely.
And then below that, I've just listed out our cash reserves. How much do we have in each savings account? How much do we have in each LLC's bank account that we can use? And then I also put an interest rate there, like, is there an interest rate for taking that money out? Obviously, on just a cash account, a bank account, you're not, you take your money whenever you want. But if you take from a home equity line of credit or a personal line of credit or a credit card, there's some interest there. So you need to write that out because you want to know what's the easiest, lowest penalty for money that you can take out. And so I've listed not only our savings accounts, our checking accounts, that kind of thing, but also the fund and grow money that we have available, 401k money that we have available, any Roth IRA money that we have available would all go there so that I would know what can I pull from and where's the most desirable place to pull from. Do you think anything is missing here?
No, I think this looks pretty good. It is amazing when you put it all down. I mean, because again, coming back to looking at this on paper and trying to like map this out on paper, it's gonna fall apart, But having it all laid out where you can actually track and then see how much you're putting towards properties, and then what is the interest rates, what are you dealing with, and when you can actually calculate it and add it all up, then you've got this all taken care of in a really interesting way.
Right. So, for instance, we had a credit card that was acquired for us by Fund and Grow people, and there was a $25,000 limit on it. But for a balance transfer, we called the credit card company up. A lot of times you just call them and say, okay, how can I use this cash? Sometimes they'll have some kind of introductory rate, like 0% balance transfer fee, 0% interest on a balance transfer, and 0 fee. But this particular credit card said, well, you can only use $15,000, even though there's a $25,000 limit. You can only use $15,000 of it, and there's a 5% fee for that transaction. So even though it was going to be a 0% interest on that $15,000 transfer, it was still $750 fee for taking that money. So I thought, well, okay, do I need that $15,000, or can I find it somewhere else in another one of our accounts? Because I don't want to pay money for money. I want to pay as little money for money as I possibly can.
Right.
And so I needed a way to lay it all out so that I can make a decision which account it all comes from. And again, I realize this sounds like, oh, we have so many vaults that we can choose from. It's not that, oh, we're just so privileged we have money just coming out of our ears. It's that we have put money in these specific tools because we are actually employing the strategies we talk about on this podcast. And so now I want to, when we have these short-term goals, we also have long-term goals to acquire other things. But when it comes down to it, I just want to see which vault do I go in and which is the most beneficial, right?
Right. So the overall strategy then for the year, I mean, we've got it laid out. We're going to go for it, and we're going to see if we can do this. But I mean, I think the most important thing is to make sure that your taxes are accounted for if you're doing quarterly taxes. That was one thing we've transitioned to this year, making sure we've got the quarterly tax payment accounted for. Before we used to just do it yearly. So that really put a crimp in us. We're like, oh, we got to pay these quarterly taxes. And now knowing that that's there, that we don't get this big surprise at the end of the year also.
Right. Exactly. Exactly right. I mean, I'm just looking through, we have a budget that we keep for the things that we need to be able to cover every month, like, the mortgage, the insurance, the car payments, these cable bills. We've talked about how we can knock into those, electricity, I even have a budget for groceries, for the snow plow guy, and in the winter time, there are certain things that you just, even if you pay off all of your debt, you're going to continue to incur these expenses.
Exactly. So, well, I'm excited. So I'd love to hear feedback from everyone on this, and let me know your thoughts on, on how you're laying out and your short-term goals. What does this look like for you? Are there any other things we should talk about with this?
No, but I love that we have viewers who kind of pick apart my spreadsheet sometimes. I'm like, why'd you lay that out there? And I'm open to other suggestions. For everyone always does it with such nice intentions. Like, that doesn't make sense. I would have put that there. Or, maybe there's a way to. I don't know. To me, I know it's a little bit crude, but the formulas work, and I think it's a good way to just take a snapshot of where you are in any given month.
Absolutely. So, all right, perfect. We're going to put this giveaway together as a downloadable Excel spreadsheet so you can utilize it by just going over to morrisinvest.com/episode 160, and you can download that and take that on the road with you, and so you can start building short-term cash flow, short-term plans to tackle your long-term goals. You got to have short-term goals in order to hit your long-term goals. So there you go. Thank you so much. And we publish this show multiple times a week. Thank you, everyone, for subscribing. If you are also ready to take action, you're ready to jump in and pick up your first rental property with our team, we're always happy to help you. That's what we do at Morris Invest. So come on over. Visit our website, go to morrisinvest.com. We'll jump on the phone with you for like 30 minutes. Our team will. We'll find out about your cash flow goals. What does financial freedom look like for you? And then, of course, we will take good care of you. And that's what we do. We rehab the properties, place a tenant in the property, and you just get that monthly cash flow. That's our goal on every property that we do. So any parting words of wisdom, Miss Natali Morris?
Not today. I think I'm out.
She's given a lot.
That's what I got for you.
All right, we'll see you back here next time, everyone, with another episode of the Investing in Real Estate Show. Now go out there, take action, and become a real estate investor. Thanks for subscribing, everyone. We'll see you next time.